How long will this workshop take?
1 hour.
Okay. Cool. That means we'll be back to green space. Yep, we were just in green space.
Okay, cool. Well, we got a few seconds and then.
Yeah, there was a couple of business owners, and not to mention the Colorado Senator James Coleman.
So, welcome everybody to the Digital Footprint and Ethics Digital Citizenship class. I'm your instructor, Javon Manning, creative producer at Rocky Mountain PBS, and yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about some digital citizenship stuff. Okay. So I labeled this class as Digital Footprint and Ethics. It's the same as digital citizenship. Citizenship is just a hard word for me to say, so I try not to use it. But we'll kind of just jump right in. So, an overview of the class is we are content creators. We film, we edit, we post a plethora of different things. And as we continue to share our content, as we create this content, we need to be sure that things are accurate. We need to be sure that they're true. And we need to be aware of what these things that we are creating are affecting, who they affect, why they affect those people, all those different things. So that kind of takes us into our four core focus areas. So the first area will be responsible sharing and engagement. Second will be copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons. 3 is ethical considerations and content creation. And then 4th is impact of misinformation and disinformation. So the first and the 4th, they kind of go hand in hand because like misinformation and responsible sharing, misinformation, disinformation, and responsible sharing and engagement, those are kind of the same thing. So you'll notice that when we get closer to the end, it'll seem redundant, but they kind of just go hand in hand, but they are still two separate topics. And of course, at the end of the class, you guys will have access to this PowerPoint. So, and all the links and everything that I use to do my research.
So we don't have to make notes?
You don't have to make notes if you don't want to. It's okay. But take notes if you want. Have your notepad out. Take notes if you like. And then use this PowerPoint to help you as well. So first, let's jump into responsible sharing and engagement. So we'll start with foundations. So ethical foundations and content creation. First, accuracy and truthfulness. Before we share stuff, before we do anything, we always want to verify and fact check before we do it. So when you're creating some content about, let's say, like I'm very into the world of finance. So like before I create content around like the stock market, it's like, well, and I say Visa fell 20% today. It's like, well, let's actually make sure Visa fell 20% today before we post that, because that can cause a lot of panic. That can cause greater harm if I have a large audience of people that trust me. So just thinking about those things, and even like talking about, someone passing or someone being in the hospital, it's like that can cause a lot of alarm that people don't even really know about. So let's make sure our stuff is accurate and true before we create it, because then we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting the people around us. So second foundation is respect and privacy. So of course, before we record anybody, before we talk about anybody, before we speak on any subject or anything, we want to make sure that people have given us permission and consent to do those things. So privacy has got to be protected, like vulnerable subjects, different things, like especially like when it comes to children. So like a good example is we have Kids Fest at Rocky Mountain PBS. Like I can't go around and put everybody's child on camera in an interview. It's like, of course, when they come on site, like you want to have different postings saying like, hey, when you enter this site, you're liable to be on camera. So when you enter this site, you are consenting to being on camera. That is one way of getting the consent because they're entering the space. But if I go up and interview a child and their parent, before I put that child on camera, that parent needs to sign a release form saying like, hey, you can use this. So now you have legal protection if they ever try to come back and say, hey, we don't want this. But also it is because children can't really, well, they can say no, but they don't know what they're saying yes or no to. So we want to respect their privacy and we want to go to the people that can protect them and speak with them. That's just a good situation because that's something that like Kids Fest has a lot of different children there. So it's like you want to make sure you're protecting everybody's privacy no matter what it is, old or young. But yeah, kids are just a great example of privacy and respecting that privacy. So
adults, you do informed consent.
yes, for adults, it's still the same thing. You would still have them sign a release form because, you know, when you're an organization or you're a media company, like you still want to get consent to have people on camera if they're going to be on camera. And that when it comes with clients, then that works with within the client contract. So when they sign the contract saying like, hey, you're going to produce this video for me, like you're signing to be in the video too, if you're going to be in the video. Because then I have your consent to put you on video too, and you can't sue me for, you know, having you on video. It's like, well, I was making a video for you. But yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, you always want to just get people's consent to put them on camera because a lot of people feel awkward about cameras and some people don't really want to be on camera. So that kind of thing. The last foundation is copyright and attribution. So you always want to use original or properly licensed assets because, and then of course, like you want to attribute to borrowed content because you don't want any legal or ethical issues. You don't want people to view you as someone who steals content, takes things from others without their consent because that's just not.
So basically, you need to ask permission from the original creators before you borrow their work.
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
And for those of you online, the question was you want to ask creators and content creators for their consent to use their content before you go and just use it. And of course, the answer is yes. You want to ask for that kind of consent.
Okay.
Because especially when it comes to copyright stuff, because certain things you don't want to use because it can lead to legal trouble too. Like you want to just make sure you have the proper licenses, the proper consent, the proper forms, everything's in order to protect yourself and that creator or entity or whoever you're taking that content from.
I always put my my name and copyright symbol for my work.
Oh, absolutely. You always want to protect your copyright. So next thing we're going to chat about is transparency and audience trust. And this is all founded on building credibility. You want to be a credible creator. You want to have certain levels of credibility. So you want to disclose your sponsorships. So any ads, any affiliate links, all those things you want to have available for people to see so they know everybody who it is you're working with, everybody who's involved and what's going on, so there aren't any misleading pieces of content. And a funny fact that I found was actually 10% of YouTube disclosures are clear enough. And imagine how many videos are on YouTube today, and only 10% of them actually have clear disclosures of who they're working with. So that's just kind of a thing is this. We want to increase that percentage by of course, disclosing everything that we can, that of course we still feel comfortable with, but like everything that will build a level of credibility, everything that the audience needs to know, we want to disclose that and make sure it's clear. The next thing is authenticity and identity. You want to avoid fake personas and misleading content, because being genuine is always going to foster a healthier interaction between you and your audience. Like when I say fake personas, it's like you don't want to put on a facade that, you know, you are, I don't know, you want to, like, you are a financial guru and you know everything about the stock market and you know everything, you have everything all put together. You don't want to come off like that, especially if you just started investing. Now, if you've been investing for 20 years or 20, 40 years and you know you're up there with Warren Buffett and those kind of people, then it's like, okay, well, that's not a fake persona when you're confident in what you're doing, because you have backed that up with years of work, research, time, and effort. But you don't want to act like you are that when you're not that. So whatever you're making content around, whatever you're doing, be authentic to where you are in the area that you are, because people are going to gravitate to you in that way because they're going to relate to you as a person, not for what you do. And then lastly, admitting mistakes. We all make mistakes. Sometimes things come out and drastically change. Like you'll make a piece of content and something will drastically change. Like we can go back to a good financial example is like I can say, you know, Bitcoin is up to 110,000 today. And then, 20 minutes later after I posted the content, it's back down to 100,000. It's like those things can happen. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just when you make those mistakes, you want to make sure you're transparent about them and you want to do those things visibly. Like you just want to be accountable to the public that you are making content for. Like you want to be accountable to the people. So of course, if you're like, yeah, that was a mistake, or yes, these things changed, or yeah, I told you guys this wrong, I explained this in the incorrect way. Even like if I say something is 10% of something, like if I say 10% of the disclosures aren't clear enough and it was actually 15, it's like I can come back and just say, hey, actually, I was incorrect when I gave these statements. I can say instead of 10%, it's actually 15%. Here's my sources, and you guys go check it out for yourself. Always, for me, what I do is I always leave the door open to research, because then it's like, well, I may have made a mistake, but I also gave you the resources of where you can find it as well. So you're not only going off of what I say, you're going off of research that I've looked at too. So then you can verify for yourself. I always like to give that level of research to others as well, because I don't want to gatekeep the information. I want to share the information and get you interested to go research even more information for yourself. Which we'll go right into the next thing is responsible engagement and community impact. So you want to be responsible with the way you engage, because when you make mistakes, when you do things, even when you're just posting, like you want to protect yourself as a brand, as a creator. You want to keep yourself safe, and you want to keep yourself legitimate. You want to keep yourself, for lack of better words, loved by the public. Like you want to be you want to show that you are a good steward of the trust that these people are giving you. So by doing that, you are going to encourage respectful dialogue. So like foster tolerance, and be civil in your debates, in your comments and different things, because you're going to get people that have negative things to say, and instead of being negative with them, you can just respond to them and debate with them, like have an actual conversation with them, because you don't necessarily always have to be negative when it comes to things. You can always just have a conversation with someone. So yeah, you want to avoid like harassment, you want to avoid hate speech, and when sometimes you just have to moderate and block those people, or you have to hide those comments, or you have to just not speak on them at all, because some people are really just out there to be hateful, be harmful. So you just got to moderate, use your best judgment, of course. And then next thing is you want to avoid controversy for virality. Really, you don't want to just be controversial just because you want to have a viral video. Like, don't say anything crazy or toxic or scandalous just because you want to get more views. It never turns out well in the long run. It may be good for the short run. You may make a lot of money in the short term, but it's probably going to cost you all of that and then some in the long. So, just be authentic. Don't try to chase controversy for virality, because you're just preying off of negativity for people. But hey, some people do that. It's not my thing. It's not what I'm going to tell others to do. It's not what I'm going to encourage. And last thing is promote media literacy. We're doing what we're doing now. Take the things you're learning here and promote media literacy. Like, you want people to get used to verifying content and being critical about the things they view, and just you want people to think about the things that they're consuming in the media. Like, we get thousands of news articles a day. We see so much different pieces of news, and yeah, it can be overwhelming, but you still want people to think about the things that are being posted, think about the things that they're consuming, they're giving out into the world too. Like, it's just, you want people to be thoughtful in their actions and in what they take in and what they put out. So just promote that level of media literacy, and I think we will be all good. So these are a couple examples of misinformation and different things that are going on. So, like climate information via AI and chatbots. We actually had like a major report from an international panel on the information of environment highlights the automated bots and trolls some state-sponsored are spreading climate denial and greenwashing online content, effectively undermining climate action efforts. So basically, AI chatbots, some that are state-sponsored, are making false claims about climate change online. And this one actually had to do with the blackout in Spain, but it's horrendous either way, because it's spreading misinformation and it's turning things into an even worse situation than it already is, because some are like chatbots are changing the narrative on what it is. I included the link to the article. I don't want to talk about it too much because I want people to read about it, but these are things that are actually happening. And in the world of AI, it's like we live in that world. So AI can do these different things. It can be used for these kind of things. A good takeaway from it, though, is creators can unknowingly amplify misinformation, especially on critical topics like climate change. Like, critical topics, anything that is serious in the world, anything that's really going on that is like kind of affects all of us, which it does, we as creators can unknowingly amplify the misinformation if we don't go and verify those different pieces of information, because it can end up like that. It's like it can make it even worse. So another good example is Poppy's vending machine giveaway backlash. So Poppy actually gave away these extravagant, lavish vending machines. They're like literally worth thousands of dollars to different influencers during the Super Bowl. And they didn't consider like how this looked, because like their backlash was audiences were like, this is not a good prioritization of your money. And they were like, these resources could have went to your workers instead. So in response, the brand's co-founder posted a TikTok apology to clarify facts and directly address concerns, which is a good way to respond, because I mean, I'm always always partial to, just making your apology known. But in the world we live in now, it's like a TikTok apology or going online and making an actual video to apologize to your public is better than doing nothing. But again, it's like Poppy did not think about how the optics of things looked, which kind of brings into the takeaway of like, you want to consider the optics and how people are going to view what it is you're doing online. Like you never really know how people are going to take certain things, but you always want to try to consider it, because like maybe if you're a large company or you're doing large things and like in Poppy's example, you can actually raise the wages of your workers and put that into an article, people are going to love your company even more, because they're going to say, oh, not only are they providing us a great product, but they're actually taking care of their workers in a world where, there's a lot of job cuts, in a world where we are experiencing mass layoffs and AI is taking certain jobs and other jobs are getting cut. And the optics of that would be significantly different than you giving away $1,000 vending machines to creators. And it's like, well, yeah, but even with that, is like, consider how the co-founder responded to it. Like, you want to respond thoughtfully and promptly to backlash. You don't want to just act like it's gonna go away. You don't want to act like it's not there, because it's gonna cost you significantly more than you think.
They always bounce back.
Yeah, they always bounce back, but you must just make sure when you experience backlash, because backlash isn't always a bad thing. It's just people holding you accountable. It's feedback of people holding you accountable. So take that, think about it, respond thoughtfully, but also be swift and prompt with your response too, just to show people that you heard what they said, you thought about what they said, and this is what you're doing moving forward. Nothing wrong with making a mistake. It's all in how you correct said mistake. Another example is the TikTok influencer Samia Hijab's privacy authenticity scandal. Whoa, these words. Okay, so Pakistani TikToker Samia Hijab is facing allegations of staging intimate video leaks to gain publicity, claiming they were AI generated or cybercrimes, when others say she orchestrated them for attention and money. So this is a good example of like both sides. It's like Samia Hijab says these videos were AI generated, and then other people are saying, well, she actually orchestrated this stuff. And it's like, well, this is an example of chasing things for virality. It's like, we actually do not know if either side is 100% true, but it's just another example of like, be aware of what you're posting online, what you're doing online, because things like this can happen. And then, you end up with a scandalous story out on you. And it's like, well, do you want that? Probably not. So a good takeaway is there just are ethical risks of manipulating personal privacy, staging drama, or eroding audience trust. We don't know if she 100% did it or did not do it, but if on one side she's manipulating personal privacy and staging her drama, she is throwing her audience trust away if she gets caught. But if she's not, and this whole story is true, then this is just a good example of be aware of what you post online and what you're doing online. So, yeah. Another example is pretty recent too. So like deep fakes and chatbot misinformation in the LA protests. So I know everybody's heard about the LA protests and what's going on with the No Kings movement and different things like that out in LA. So during recent Los Angeles demonstrations, AI chatbots like Grok and ChatGPT without safeguards, paired with fabricated videos, misattributed protest images, and formatted confusion online. I don't know why that word is like that, but
What is unintended?
It basically means like, it just like created and just like fanned the flames of confusion. So yeah, like AI chatbots without any safeguards were creating narratives that have now caused a lot more confusion about what's going on online. It's just not a it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And companies like OpenAI, which their ChatGPT and Grok on X, they suffer those consequences when people find these things out, even though they may not even been the ones that used or created it. They're just like, it was created on your platform, so now you're going to be held responsible. So think about those things too. Like when you have a platform and somebody creates something off of it, if it leads to misinformation or like causing certain harm for people, you can be held responsible for that. So you always want to just protect yourself. Which kind of brings me into the takeaway is just, this is a timely warning on the role that creators must play in fact-checking AI-generated content before they share. Because it's just a good example of, you want to fact-check everything that you're seeing before you post it, before you have an opinion on it, because we do live in a world of AI now. AI can generate images, can generate videos, it can generate blogs, it can generate articles. There's nothing it can't generate now. And it may look real, but we need to start fact checking those different things. Now, can we talk about how you can fact check it? Absolutely. But I think that's for another class, because we gotta power through what we got today. But yeah, always want to fact check and make sure these things are coming from reliable sources before we continue sharing, because it can lead to even further misinformation.
True.
So next thing we got, copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons. I'm gonna be honest, this stuff scares me because like copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons, especially copyright can make you or break you. Like you can post a video thinking you have everything all set up and it's all good, and you're shut down immediately. Like, this is just copyright, fair use, and Creative Commons is just a good reminder of when you're using other people's stuff or you're using things, be very, very careful, very aware of exactly all the rules and things that come into play when you are using other people's stuff with your things. I'm an original creator. I'm like, hey, if you use your own stuff, you own the copyright.
Join the club.
So yeah, like prepare that way. As long as you take care of things, but like you can use other people's stuff, use it lightly. Use things lightly. I'm always down for a little sprinkle, but not. We don't need the whole seasoning, but a little sprinkle. A little sprinkle never hurt anybody. But okay, so let's jump into the fundamentals. So the fundamentals are exclusive creator rights. Copyright protects original works like videos, music, and photos. No reuse without permission. Simplest way to explain it. Enforcement mechanisms. They have content ID, DMCA takedowns, basically like cease and desist things, and the actual online platforms taking your stuff away, and then copyright strikes. And these are all automated, but they're often flawed. So sometimes people get away with things that they shouldn't necessarily get away with, but that's neither here nor there. I don't own any of those platforms, so I can't be making those decisions. But duration and scope. Typically, the duration of things lasts the creator's life plus 70 years. Covers reproduction, distribution, performance, etc. So even if somebody has passed and you're trying to use their content, you got another at least 70 years after the date they've passed, and it's been confirmed that they passed, before that fair use stuff really comes into play. Because like we have stuff that's from the 50s and the 40s that we're just now starting to be able to use as fair use, because we're in 2025 now. Think about that. And so you just want to make sure things are in order before you use it. But
You can copyright Van Gogh now.
yeah, it's like there's a lot of things you can copyright. And a good example is a fake Nintendo lawyer is scaring YouTube and it's scaring YouTubers, and it's not clear that YouTube can stop him. So a YouTuber named Dom Tendo received a fake DMCA strikes using spoofed Nintendo emails highlighting system vulnerabilities that need stronger issuer verification. So like when it comes to using stuff, like even people can still spoof emails and use fake stuff to give you those strikes, but companies like YouTube probably cannot stop them because these people are using different tactics to actually get those emails going through that can stop you in your tracks from what you're doing. So you just want to make sure that you have, like, this is where legal paperwork and things come into play, because it's like, well, great, you're saying I have copyright problems, you're saying that I don't have the authorization to do these things, but this is where my paperwork comes in hand, because like I have the paperwork, I can be using this stuff, I have examples of why I can use this stuff and things that I haven't gotten flagged for before. So this is just that's kind of how you protect yourself. Is just when you know your rights, even when people come at you, you still have, some level of confidence in responding back. When you don't know your rights, you kind of already are scared because you don't know what's going on. Usually the only reason people are scared of things is because they don't necessarily know. So just knowing your rights is going to help you in situations like this, because it can happen, but as long as you know your rights, you're good. So we'll jump right into the fair use doctrine. So there are 4 known factors of it's a 4-factor test of under U.S. law for copyright stuff. So the 1 is purpose and character, is educational, commentary, transformative, etc. 2, the nature of the original work. Where did it come from? What's it about? What is it doing? 3, amount used. You use only what's necessary. My favorite rapper once said, take what you need, leave the rest of it. So depending on what it is you're using, only use what is absolutely necessary. If it's not absolutely necessary, don't use it. That's my advice. And number 4 is market effect. It shouldn't harm the original's value. So, of course, if you're pulling something from an original and it devalues the original, well, I mean, you're obviously in direct violation of copyright fair use. So just be careful with that. Like, make sure you're not devaluing other people's content if you're going to use it. I mean, that's just like morally, I don't agree with that anyway. So I don't see why anybody would do that, but people will do it. So people don't got the morals. People will do it. So yeah. And then, so let's move to license type. So license type is, well, let's backtrack. So we'll always attribute properly, like the name, the title of the link. So you always want to have links and things to different things that you're using. You want to use only permitted adaptations or uses. So no commercials, of course, like different things like that. And if you misuse something, request the correction politely. Or if someone misuses yours, request things politely first, and then go from there. If you need to take legal action, take legal action. If not, don't do it. And if some people are just like, oh, my bad, let me fix that, and it'll work. But some people will come back at you with a little sass, and we'll leave that. But we'll talk about license type in a second, because I didn't include it in here in this slide. I forgot to put it in here. So there are a few different license types, but I'll make sure that when I share this video or when I share the actual slides, it'll have them in there. These are a couple case studies. I'm not going to go deep into them just because they're very long and very long articles, but like there was the the what versus South Park. This clip was used in satire, and the court ruled it as fair use. Basically, a creator used something from South Park. South Park tried to sue them, and the court ruled it as fair use, and things are pretty good. So that was a good example. And then equals 3 versus Junkin Media. It's a commentary series that uses short clip portions deemed transformative and fair, except one instance, and in that instance, they saw some repercussions. So these are links to the articles. You can read about them if you like. But yeah, there's some case studies that actual examples of copyright and fair use stuff that they didn't get. So a good takeaway: fair use is not safe without legal defense. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, actually, we do got it. So these are the license types that we spoke about. The license types are DY, attribution, SA, share alike, NC, non-commercial, and ND, non-derivative. And those things that we spoke about a little earlier about the always attribute, use only adaptations, those are our best practices. It's a duplicate slide, so I'll just make sure when I share the resources that the slides are obviously correct. And then these are some more resources for copyright info. These are just these are some resources and a good example. Like a German blogger got fined for an incomplete attribution, so like it didn't have a license or ink name. Even with the CC on there, it doesn't matter because it didn't have like a license, didn't have a link, didn't have the name. You know, there was things missing from his blog that violated the copyright and made it invalid, so he got fined for it. So different things like that. So yeah, these are just some more case studies and resources that you can look at. So yeah, real world hiccups. This German blogger, he got fined, and then some images were hidden with hidden restrictions or misrepresented and risk of breach or trolling. So yeah, this is kind of a repeat of resources here, but these are also real world hiccups. So yeah, you can check these links out for yourself. Next is ethical considerations in content creation. So privacy, consent, and sensitive data. So there are 3 key principles, and it is explicit consent is critical. We talked about this earlier. Explicit consent, critical, especially when the content involves children or individuals or sensitive information. So sensitive information, that is a vague topic, but hey, if someone deems it sensitive, that means don't use it. So just be aware, consent is critical. Explicit consent is a signed release form. Explicit consent is physical representation of consent. That's all. That's the easiest way to put it. And then avoid inadvertent disclosure. So AI tools can leak personal data if not carefully screened. So like when you're using, the ChatGPTs, the Groks, the Claudes, the Perplexities, all those different things, read the terms. I know it's long, but your personal data can be leaked if it's not screened. And of course, be careful with what data you give these models because, your data can be leaked. You put your phone number in there, your phone number can be leaked. So just be aware of what it is you're sharing when you use these different tools. And the last thing is protect our minors, protect our kids. So sharing or turning children into kidfluencers raises lifelong privacy, reputational, and labor concerns. So when you're sharing your kids online, when you're turning them into influencers, when you're showing them online and showing them doing different things, and be aware of what it is you're doing and consider everything that comes with that before putting them in front of a camera, because there's just things that they can experience growing up and have privacy concerns, and there's a lot of things that they can experience while they're still growing up, and they're not even conscious of what those things are. But as their parent, as their guardian, you are. So take some time to be aware of what it is they can experience throughout their lifetime when you put them in front of a camera.
It's best not to corrupt these minors with this nonsense on the computer.
Absolutely. Don't corrupt the minors. Let them grow up, have the minds of their own. So yeah, the real world example with kidfluencers is the rise of kidfluencers has triggered legislation. Example, Illinois' law requiring 30% of kids' content earnings to be set aside in a trust, underscoring the importance of consent and protections for minors. Which, I mean, this is good. So it's like if your kid's going to be earning money, and so 30% of that money needs to be put away, because as a kid, I mean, if I have $1 million, it's like, well, I'm probably going to spend it on candy. But it's like also like your parents have control, like my parents have control of all the money. So they can spend it and make their lifestyle great. And then when I turn 18, I don't have anything. Or when I get older, I don't have any of the money that I spent all those years working for. And now I resent my parents because they spent all my money, which I didn't even know was my money until I was older. So this is just a good example of like, protect your kids, set aside, if they're going to be making money, set aside some of that for them for when they're old enough to even know what to do with it. Some parents do a really good job of this when they have their kids online, but there are parents out there that just don't even know this. Like, I'm not going to say they're bad parents, but it's just like they don't even think about these kind of things because we live in a new world of technology. So you just want to just be aware of what it is your kids are going through. And of course, there's more examples of like, your elderly relatives that you have on, if they're helping your content make money, they deserve a piece of that too, because they're putting themselves out there with you. So those kind of things. Another thing is AI bias, and authenticity. So key principles to this world, because we do live in a world of AI. We are going to live in a world that we're living in a world that literally is, we can generate anything. And we talked about that a little earlier. So we want to be transparent about AI usage. So even me, to put this presentation together, I spent a lot of time on ChatGPT, on different AI stuff to do the deep research to find the different links and things that I want to do, that I wanted to use in this class. So you just want to be transparent about your AI usage, because your audience deserves disclosure when content is AI generated. So like, if I'm going to show you a video and it's AI generated, I can't claim I made the video, with my own hands. I animated it. Like Google released VO3 and somebody used an example of like a giant Iceman running. I can't claim that I animated this Iceman, I drew him and made him do all these movements. I should definitely be saying like, no, I made this in Google VO3. That's just, it's only fair, because it's unfair to Google. It's also unfair to your audience, because they should know where this stuff is coming from, because who knows, they have ideas too that those kind of softwares can help them. So next thing is we want to guard against bias. AI training data can reflect unfair, harmful stereotypes, so check your outputs carefully. We've experienced different things like this, of just AI making flat out just disrespectful stereotypes, disrespectful comments. Just make sure your outputs are properly set. It's just the data can reflect unfair things, and it's not necessarily the AI's fault. It's the people that are putting the data in to train it because it's just like a child can only repeat what they're taught. So yeah. And then preserve human integrity. You want to maintain human oversight to ensure nuance and accountability. So in this world, a world of AI, we're not going to let AI do everything. We want to maintain oversight of it. AI is good to help with the mundane things, with learning, with speeding up the process of getting things done and getting things done well. Yes, but we want to maintain oversight as humans over it, because AI is not stronger than us. We are stronger than AI. We created it. We brought it forth. It is our accomplice. It is our partner. We are not its slave, basically.
We should always rely on our own physical work rather than some AI generated lie.
Yeah, we should always rely on our physical work and oversee the different pieces of technology we use. Just like we don't let our phones control us, we control our phone. It's like we use our phone to help us connect to the world. We don't let our phone dictate our lives. That's all. That's the same thing with AI. It's the same thing with any piece of technology. But in a world of where us as creators, AI is increasingly becoming more apparent. Just remember, as a user, as a creator, maintain the oversight and ensure accountability and nuance with what you know. So, yeah. Real world example, the Archival Producers Alliance released ethical guidelines for documentaries, demanding transparency when using synthetic voices or images, like crediting AI in archives. So, yeah, like when you're transcribing something or when you're using a synthetic voice in a documentary to talk about something, that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like, don't, like, especially with the world that we live in, that you can have AI recreate someone's voice and speak in that voice. It's like, okay, you can do that, but let's credit the software you used to do that in the archives or in whatever it is you're creating, because it's not fair to the person whose voice you're using, and it's not fair to your audience because they think that person has gotten a job on voicing that, and you're using a synthetic voice. Of course, think about the optics of how people are going to see that too, and it's like, if you think people are going to take it negative, they're probably going to take it negatively.
They're not fools.
Yeah, people aren't foolish. People know, but of course, like, nothing's wrong with using it, because I mean, if it seems necessary and you want to use a synthetic AI voice, that's totally fine. Not everybody. You don't have to, like, if you're writing an article, you don't have to have somebody come out, read the article, and then do all the audio editing to their voice. It's like, you can have AI create it. Like, we even use it at PBS to do different weekly mundane tasks, and it's like, well, we use that, but still, it's just, you want to make sure it's ethical still. Like, you want to make sure you're crediting what it is you're using, and if people ask you, be honest about it. So, last thing we're going to talk about is inclusivity, cultural sensitivity, and its community impact. So, yeah, another slide of AI bias and authenticity is want to have cultural sensitivity. So research your audience to avoid unaware offense, because like I said before, AI can make different stereotypes about different demographics of whatever it is you're talking about. So research who it is your audience is, so you're not offending someone and not even knowing. Because I mean, of course you can show that, like, hey, I made the mistake, but like, this is why we do research. This is why we fact check, and this is why we verify things, because you never know who you're going to accidentally offend, and it's always easier to do the research prior than it is to apologize to those people in the beginning. So, yeah, diverse voices involve people from varied backgrounds to reduce blind spots. So, when your group of friends in your group of people you speak with, in the group of the people that you chat with every day, even with the people you don't chat with, like the people you watch, the people you study, whatever it is that's in your circle. It's like diverse voices with people from different backgrounds are going to help you see different blind spots. It's like if I'm very into Asian culture and I have a friend that is actually from Asia, from Japan, and I'm into Japanese culture, I can lean on my own understanding, but it's also easier to go talk to that person who is actually Japanese, that is like, okay, well, this is how the culture works. This is how, when you do these things, this is what is considered disrespectful. Like one thing one of my friends told me was like, people don't really speak on the train. It's like, well, I might be on the train and I'm talking on the phone and people are looking at me like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm unaware of the offense I'm causing, but had I talked to my friends or the people that I know, they would be like, yeah, you don't do that just because it's looked at disrespectful. Like, they're not going to kick you off the train, but people are going to be like, what are you doing? Because that's not part of their culture.
It's like a HR person assumed that I'm a foreign worker and referred to me as such.
Yeah.
Which was offensive because she's assuming a lot of things that, she should know better.
This is true. Yeah, like you don't want to, like when you're speaking to someone, you don't want to just assume things. You want to ask. And then even when you're asking certain questions, you want to still kind of be aware of what it is you're asking and making sure that, like, hey, am I offending someone? Even when you're talking to them, it's like making them known that, like, I really just don't know. So I'm going to ask, but I'm trying not to offend, but I'd appreciate you teaching me what it is, like how I even ask these kind of questions. Like,
don't make assumptions.
Yeah, just don't make assumptions. Always be open to learning. And of course, when you're using AI, you don't want to just be putting inputs in and off of things that you think, because it's going to make a narrative around that. And yeah, you want to have. This is why we maintain human oversight, basically. Last thing is you want to balance promotion with integrity. So avoid deceptive tactics in ads or sponsorships and disclose your partnerships. Now, this is kind of like, you don't always have to do every single piece of that, but like you always want to avoid being deceptive. Like if you're trying to deceive your audience, you're not being true to your audience. That's not a good thing. That's never okay.
That's a capital offense.
Yeah, it's like you're deceiving people. But in ads or sponsorships, like some partnerships you have, like people want to keep them private, and that's where contracts and stuff come in. It's like some people just want to, like if someone donates money to your cause or organization, some people don't want that information out, but they want to see the video get created, and they want to fund the process of that being created. So like there are gray areas in that, but like in your ads, your sponsorships, and your partnerships, you want to be able to disclose what you can and not deceive your audience. That's the whole thing. It's like you don't want to use that stuff to deceive your audience. Some people want to stay private, which is another reason of why consent is a huge part of things. But some people would like to remain private. Like some people are private donors. They donate plenty of money to different organizations, but you never know who they are, which is, there's no problem in that. Some people just like to keep their things private. So yeah, balance promotion with integrity. You want to be honest about what it is you're doing and who it is you're doing it with when it comes to certain things. And then a real world example of like something being synthetic and swerving around online that affected someone severely is in 2024. Explicit images of Taylor Swift were circulated online, and it was deep fake, and it was obviously without her consent. And it prompted public outrage, calls for legislation. It caused a huge issue, all from some explicit images of Taylor Swift. She's an icon, and when you see those things that people are making those, it's like, well, she didn't consent to that. That's not something she does. That's not something that's part of her character. And now the whole public is outraged about it, and now they're calling for legislation for it, which is appropriate. It's just like these are things that we can avoid by just immediately fact checking. Like, that's not her. That's not what we do. That's not how those things work. That's not part of her. Somebody's doing that. And sometimes that is a call to legislation. Other times it is other times it is simply just, we're not supporting that. We're reporting whoever did that, and whoever has put that stuff out should receive the proper punishment. So, yeah. Takeaway: deepfakes can inflict real harm and violate dignity and consent. So, I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. Deepfakes, anything that's fake, anything that's set to do harm, can violate somebody's dignity. It can violate their consent, and it can cause real harm, not only to the person, but to their bank account, to their image, to their public perception, to their family. There's plenty of things that can go wrong. Which leads into the impact of misinformation and disinformation. This is what I mentioned earlier. It goes hand in hand with the first topic that we spoke about, which this is why it's going to kind of be a little bit shorter than the first one. But yeah. Another thing, political manipulation and bot networks. So like a core issue is foreign-linked bot armies exploit moments of crisis to drive political disinformation. So a June 2025 Network Contagion Research Institute report reveals that Russia and Iran unleashed tens of thousands of bots to flood social media with MAGA-related false flag narratives tied to events like the Uvalde shooting and Israeli embassy protests. These posts generated 4 million interactions in 6 weeks, deliberately eroding institutional trust. And I also linked the article to it so you can read about it. Just something interesting I found, that like these like foreign linked entities, they can do it. Other different entities, they can talk about it. We don't know if any of this is true. This is all alleged. I don't know if any of this is true, but I left the article to it to read. But yeah, it's just like these are things, these are real world things that can happen. Like, it's June 2025. This is something very recent. And, you know, bot networks can cause, bot armies are exploiting moments of crisis to drive information, to cause issues within the country, to cause issues within mistrust within us. And it's like, well, this is a real world application of how misinformation and disinformation can affect countries, not just individual people, but countries as a whole as well. Another example is in Minnesota, after a tragic unaliving of state lawmakers, politically motivated influencers misrepresented the shooter's affiliation, tagging him as a leftist or Marxist. This false narrative spread widely before corrections were made. Another example of these things can get very big in a time of crisis. And if we're not fact checking, false narratives can be created, and now they spread far and wide before anything is corrected. And now all that belief is already still there. And now when the new stuff comes out that is true, there's always going to be a little bit of hesitation with believing this new article, because it's like, well, why are you correcting it? Is that true? Maybe I'm going to believe the previous one. Maybe I believe this one. It just causes a lot of confusion that we don't have to experience if we are fact checking from the very beginning when we see it. So, takeaway: creators must vet the origins of viral negatives, particularly during high emotion moments, and avoid uncritically amplifying bot-driven content. This doesn't always have to be bot-driven, but just content in general. Like, you want to avoid thinking immediately with emotions, especially in high tension moments, because they can be used against you as a creator, as a sharer, as a consumer of content. Different things can be, they can explode if we're not vetting the origins of viral narratives, viral content. If we don't know where it's coming from, if we're not looking at and thinking about where it's coming from, then we are caught in the crosshairs, and we can actually end up taking the blame for things that we had no part in creating. And that only helps the people that are spreading the negativity, because it pulls the attention off of them and onto you as the creator, as the sharer, as the consumer of content. So this is another example of the climate crisis and misinformation. So disinformation in urgent global crises can literally cost lives and derail action. So in June 25, the IPIE study found that bots, trolls, fossil fuel interests, and state actors aggressively push climate denial and greenwashing, undermining efforts for swift action on urgent government environmental issues. And now I left a link to the article in this slide as well. Just another example. During the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, AI-generated images falsely depicted floods in places like Gatlinburg and Walt Disney World. These fakes complicated rescue efforts and deepened public distrust in FEMA and local officials. So there are actually people that are getting hurt. There are actually people that are experiencing different hardships and real crisis, that different misinformation and AI generated images and different sources of misinformation cause stagnation in action. So just be aware of the things that you're sharing, be aware of the things that you're posting, because when those things come out, these entities that act on behalf of those things, they're forced to act as well. And you want to make sure that as a sharer, consumer, content creator, that you're not helping push these narratives, because you don't know who it's going to harm. You don't know who it's going to harm, and you don't know if it's going to actually cost somebody their life, or if it's going to halt disaster efforts. So, takeaway: always verify the image authenticity, source the credibility, especially visuals, before reposting crisis content. Before you repost anything, if you see it visually, source the credibility. If it's something, especially if it's like a crisis, but anything you see, you really want to source it. You want to know where it's coming from, because if you don't know where it's coming from, well, when you share it and somebody comes back to you, you're going to look pretty goofy when they're like, that wasn't true. Here's the facts. Here's what's really going on. You want to make sure things are actually happening, things are going on before you share this stuff, because we have power in our social media. We have power in our content. So when you share things, word gets out, people see what's going on, and it can really help a lot of people too. It can help people respond. But if we're not verifying the credibility of things before, and sometimes that's a quick Google search, sometimes that's a quick conversation, sometimes it's just you got to look it up and you got to research and find the information, but always verify. If you verify, things look good. So that's the end of it.
Thank you.
No problem. Any comments or questions online, Lena?
We do not have any questions.
Cool.
Very clear cut and learn a lot.
Cool. Well, I will make sure I have this updated slideshow. There are a couple mistakes in here, so I'll make sure I fix those. But that's the end of it, and I will see y'all next month for the next one.
Now, can we get, more, the contents? Can we get the contents of your...
Yeah, so I'll share the actual slideshow, and the slideshow actually has links to all the articles I used to research it.
Sounds good.
So DCM will have the actual slideshow that I can share from there. Cool. All right, thank y'all.
Bye.